All right, you guys, welcome back to Lesson 6, Google Analytics. And now we're going to talk about Google Analytics. And if you could see up on the screen, can you see the forest for the trees? And can you see the trees for the forest? Both are very applicable today. Google Analytics is an amazing, powerful tool. Like I said before, it's free. It's always a good price. But now I want you to understand all of the pieces of the puzzle that we've been trying to explain to you, to try and teach you, to try and get you to actually do in your business, haven't been busy work. I promise you. All of the pieces of the puzzle are now going to start to make sense once we teach you Google Analytics. Google Analytics is going to incorporate the marketing calendar we keep talking about having you guys set up, understanding what happens on certain days. We're going to talk about that here in just a sec. Your keyword sheet. I know Jim and Kelly did a great thing this past week and went back and rewatched the profitable keyword class. You know that they got more out of it the second time that they watched it. Your profitable keyword sheet is going to play a huge part into your Google Analytics. And then having these pieces now, Danny showed you before how to turn on certain types of analytics in your seed panel. Today we're going to talk about a really powerful program. This will teach you how people find your site, how they maneuver throughout your site, and for some of you, depending upon what you have on your site, the profitability of your site. And this can mean two things. It can mean AdWords, it can mean AdSense, so AdWords, the words you purchase, AdSense, the ads you have on your site, and then also if you have e-commerce on the site, you can track that as well. Understand that there's no set number. Some of them are set, like 100% of something, 0% of something, usually do mean something. However, all the numbers in between that we're going to talk about, there's no set number standard. The most important thing for you is to look at your base numbers in any analytics program, whether it's eBay stores, the analytics programs we saw before, or Google Analytics. The most important thing is to look at your base numbers, decide what you want to do to change those, make new goals, and then watch if your numbers beat those goals. That is the most important thing. For the most part, on Google Analytics, you're competing against yourself. If somebody else says, I have a bounce rate of such and such, what's your bounce rate? It doesn't matter. All it matters is if you make your bounce rate more effective for the pages that you need them to be based upon what your customers are doing. Okay? All right. Let's get going here. We're going to talk about Google Analytics for websites and for blogs, and they may be one and the same, which is fine. We're going to talk about reading and understanding Google Analytics. Now remember, Google Analytics has 80 different reports. I'm not going to show you all 80 reports today. You guys will fall asleep on me. But I do want you to understand how powerful Google Analytics is. And if you combine it with Google AdWords, it's even more powerful because you can actually track ROI, return on investment, and the value of different opportunities you have on your website. We're going to talk about some of the additional features you can use, like you can use Google Analytics on your Twitter account, which a lot of people don't know about. And then we're going to talk about Google Analytics for Etsy. I'm glad Lisa already has her code in there. How many of you guys currently sell on Etsy or are planning on selling on Etsy? So just raise your hands. Oh, good. So, oh, wow, a lot more of you than I thought there was. Okay, so of you who have your hands raised, you can put them down. How many of you guys have Google Analytics already installed? You know, Lisa did. A couple of you. All right, good. It looks like a couple of you. So we're going to show you Google Analytics for Etsy today. It's a relatively painless process. But more importantly, we're going to talk about what it means to you as an Etsy seller. Putting Google Analytics on Etsy, easy. Figuring out what they mean, whole different thing. And then I want to talk about, really quick at the end, some other webmaster tools that will help you even more. The more I can take that fog away and make things clearly defined for you, the better it's going to be for your business in the long run. All right, let's head over to Google Analytics. You guys ready? All right. The very first thing I want you to do, are you guys all listening? The very first thing I want you to do is I want you to promise, right now, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise that if something doesn't make sense, and a lot of things won't make sense today, I promise to allow my mind to gloss over those until Janelle starts talking again about something that starts to make sense to me. I'm giving you full permission to gloss over the things that kind of get beyond your reach at the moment. The reason I'm saying that is that I don't want you to completely forget about them. I just want you to get the most you can out of listening. And if your mind's still stuck on some concept I'm talking about that you didn't understand, you may miss the parts that you do understand. So today, promise me that you'll gloss right over those areas that you're like, what is she talking about? It's giving me a headache. And move right back into the webinar and listen to the parts that you do understand. Because here's the cool thing. Part of your homework for next week is going into some of the areas that you didn't understand and playing with them. As Leo says, deal. Great. My favorite word, deal. I really want you guys to be present and hear the pieces that start to make sense. Google Analytics, like I said, people I swear have master degrees in this. You should see some of the blogs that talk about Google Analytics. I would never in a million years be able to understand them. But what I'm going to show you today is the things that I think are most important to your business. Okay, so as long as you guys promise, I promise you can watch this as many times as you want on the site to pick up the parts that you glossed over. First things first, number one, make sure you have a Gmail account. This is true for a lot of things we've already taught you. Gmail accounts are just great. You need them to use for Google Docs, which we've taught you is a great opportunity to have for business. And now for Google Analytics and the Webmaster Tools, you're going to need a Gmail account. If you have any employees that you work with or consultants, make sure they have a Gmail account so that they can effectively use that opportunity as well. All right, so Gmail account it is. Second thing is you're going to go to Google Analytics. Amazingly, this is pretty easy, google.com/analytics. Doesn't get much easier than that. All you're going to do, make sure that you're logged in, otherwise it will ask you to log in. And you're going to click Access Analytics. It's right here, you can sign up right there. And we're going to access Google Analytics. Now this is what Google Analytics looks like when you log in. Hopefully yours doesn't say Lifeway Connect on it. Yours will either be blank if you haven't used it before, or it will have one or more of your websites in here. This happens to be a brand new site for the church that I'm working with on their marketing team, and this is such a perfect opportunity for you guys to see a brand new site, only about 4 to 6 weeks old, and the goals we set initially, what goals have been achieved and how I can tell that, what goals we're still missing the mark on, and how I'm going to deal with those going forward. This is exactly the same types of things you're going to be using Google Analytics for. So, first and foremost, we need to, before you do anything, add your site to Google Analytics. And this is pretty easy. You simply come down here, click Add Website Profile. And I know some of you already did this last week, so just follow along. You're going to add your website here. So we'll just make up one. Your website here. Make sure it's the correct country and time zone and click Finish. And wait patiently for your computer. All right, there we go. Then when you get to this page, you're going to receive something called New Tracking Code, ga.js. Some of you have legacy codes, and that's a whole other separate class. And if you've been on Google Analytics for a while and you're using this, let me know and we can have a whole separate class about that. But here's the new tracking code. All you're going to do is copy and paste this, and if you know enough about coding, you're going to put it in your web page. And this has really specific instructions about where it goes. Or if you're like me, you send it over to Danny and say, can you put this on my page? If it is a WordPress site or a blog, we're going to show you how to do that yourself pretty easily. So here is the tracking code. So when your web person asks you, I need the Google Analytics tracking code, now you know exactly what they mean by that. So get this one. Do not get the legacy tracking code. Okay? And then you're going to hit Finish. Now you've added the site, and you can see it show up right here on your main page. Your website here. You see this number right here? This is UA something. That is part of your tracking information, and that's going to be really important, and we're going to show you that here in just a moment. See this information right here? It means that the tracking is not installed. As soon as it's installed, Google can read that information, and it will put a check mark next to it to say you've received that information. If you don't have a check mark, there's something wrong with your code. Just so you know. But for the most part, check marks, and you're good to go. Now, as soon as you have gotten your check mark, I want you to actually do something for me. I want you to go to a site called SiteScan. It's actually sitescanga.com. I want you to put in your site. I want you to put in your email address. And I want you to hit Start Scan. What this site does is once you have the checkbox, is it goes and verifies that this is actually installed correctly. This is just a great free in-between step. What it has done is it instantly found 35 pages that have the code working correctly on them. Yay! I know I have a lot more than 35 pages on that site though, and down here it says, no worries, we're going to send you an email when we scan your entire site. Now it says it can take a couple hours to a couple days. Mine was here in about 10 minutes. Because I have about 80 pages on the website. So this is just a confirmation for you. You're going to want to check your email and make sure that all the pages are okay and none of the error pages are found. I just happen to really love the site. I think it's a great opportunity. All right, so back to the analytics part of it. We have added our website to the analytics report. We have a little checkbox. Now, if you are on a WordPress site, you're going to want to use something like this plugin. This is the one that Cindy uses on her current website. You may have an older one and it may work a little bit differently. Danny did want to warn you guys. But this is Google Analytics for WordPress. If you have Danny do your blog for you or your website for you, she'll just do this automatically for you so you don't even have to worry about it. But this is an easy plugin. You guys know that I have to log into my site. You guys know that with the great new WordPress 2.7 that you can easily do plugins yourself. So if for some reason you have a WordPress blog and down in plugins it doesn't have the analytics part in it, you can simply add it. I love that about 2.7. It's awesome. All right, as we scroll down, we can see that it is added and it is active. So Google Analytics for WordPress and settings. You remember that number we talked about before? Does that look familiar, that UA number? All you do is copy and paste that UA number for the website that you're tracking. And copy and paste it right into there and click Update Settings. You don't have to take that whole entire code and send it to your web person. You don't have to do anything with that code. If you are on WordPress and you can install this plugin, that's literally all you need to do. Now, some of you may have older WordPress versions or different blog versions that have different plugins for them. You may then need to copy and paste the whole thing. But for almost all of you guys, and Danny, tell me if I'm off base here, but there is a plugin for different versions of this. And it's either going to require this analytics number or just copy and pasting that code in there. So if you have a blog, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. All right, so we've added our website. We've added the code someplace. And again, that means either you doing it, or if you're like me, you send it to Danny. Danny, please do this for me. And put it wherever it's supposed to be and make it look nice and make sure everything works out okay. After you've got your little check mark on your site, which again is relatively quickly once the code's installed, you're going to go over here to SiteScan, sitescanga.com, and you're going to make sure that all of your pages were scanned correctly. And we're just going to assume that everything is fabulous at this point. All right. That's the easy part. Now let's start talking about Google Analytics. Google Analytics, that little piece of code that got put onto your site, has something in it called a cookie. Now, we're very familiar with cookies. Some of us from the kitchen and some of us from the website. Cookies are good, cookies are bad, there's all sorts of things, but usually what we deal with are something called third-party cookies. However, Google actually, with this piece of code, put something called first-party cookies on your site. Under first-party cookies, all it does is understand that when a person comes to your site, even for the most part, if they have cookies disabled, most people don't disable first-party cookies because you can't do a lot of things on websites without allowing the website to do things. You're still going to be able to track that information. And now Google Analytics will be able to follow where that person came in from, what they do in your search boxes, where they go, what links they click on, everything that they do on your site, and then how long they stay and where they leave. This includes dates and countries and what browsers they're using. There is so much information you can learn from Google Analytics, but until you allow Google to be on your site, and again, they don't share this information with anybody else. Anybody else, it is only in your Google Analytics account, and only you have access to the information. And they never, ever grab any sort of personal information with this cookie. Okay? Now that you have that information, if you need to add additional websites, again, just one more time, you just go down to Add Website Profile, and you can continue adding various websites. You can see I've got a new one that we just started called LifeWayConnectRussia.com. So let's talk about some things. Here's some resources down here. That's always a good thing. Over here, different analytics accounts. And one of the things that I want to give you a heads up, some of you guys are going to have your own Google Analytics, and some of you are going to be an analytics person for other people. So if you have clients you're working with, something you might want to consider is creating new accounts for each of the different profiles. I know it's people with interesting with all the different words. Basically, you can think of these as different protected folders. If I have an account for Lifeway Connect and I have an account for OSI Rockstars, that means if I hire an employee for OSI Rockstars, I can let them into OSI Rockstars and not let them into Lifeway Connect. Just a great way of controlling that information. For different accounts, you can have up to 25 accounts. So this would be great, especially if you're an education specialist and you're helping people, doing different training for things, and you can actually have different accounts. For this one, all of the Lifeway Connect information will be underneath this one particular account. Okay? You can change the information and dates and times. You can see up here. Another great thing is to get a snapshot. You can change information right here. So average time on site, you can see it change. Need to work on that. We're going to talk about that. Bounce rate, and we'll also talk about bounce rate here in a moment, exactly what they mean, and that's actually good. We've been working on bounce rate. Completed goals, we don't have any goals yet, but you could change it right there. User managers down here, you can click that. User managers are awesome. This is where you would deal with an employee who you might need to give access to. So if you want an employee to go in and start doing some research information into your analytics, or you want to turn this over to somebody and they need access to your Google Analytics, here's where you can do it. Simply click Add User. Enter their email address. Again, it has to be a Gmail account. View reports only or account administrator. Now be careful, because account administrators, they get full carte blanche to do anything they want on the site, so don't be doing that. View reports only should probably be what 99% of the people are going to get. You can choose which website profile they get access to. So for this particular one, maybe I want to give full access to one of the people in the office to view reports only. In fact, we have a new kid coming and working on the site, so I can put his email address here, view reports only, but I only want him to have access to Lifeway Connect. Let me put that over there. He has nothing to do with Lifeway Connect Russia and doesn't need to be in there. If you end up letting somebody go, it's much easier to take them off an account than it is to take them off all your accounts. So be a little bit careful about that. But now he can go in and view reports only of Lifeway Connect. He can't change, he can't do anything, but he can go in and view them, which might be advantageous at that time, and click Save Changes, and now you've added another person to your account. Again, this is great. As some of you, Marianne just hired her first employee, yay, this week. As you guys start to add employees, you're going to want to make sure that that happens. All right, so that's one of the many things that you can do. Another thing is right here, see where it says Filter Manager? We're going to click that. Now, this is something that you guys want to do. I want you to come up here, click Add Filter. Name your filter. So the name of your filter is going to be something with your IP. And spell it correctly. Not mine. Here's why. And I think, based upon the information I was looking at Cindy's going to probably want to do this ASAP. If you don't exclude your own computer, your information will show up in your results. So when you visit your site a trillion times and click on things and do all sorts of stuff, it can really skew your results. You're going to want to exclude your IP address from your computer. If you have somebody working in there or viewing a lot of information on the site, like I have somebody who double-checks spelling on one of my sites, I would probably want to exclude her IP address. This is where you're going to do it. This is probably one of the first things you're going to want to do as soon as you set up your Google Analytics. So filter name, you can call it whatever you want. IP, not mine. Filter type, exclude all traffic from a domain, no. Exclude all traffic from an IP address, yes. All right. Now I want you guys to listen. I know this may be one of the glossing over things, but listen to me, and we promise to have links for you to work with this. It's not as easy as just putting your IP address in here. I wish it was, but it's not. There's something called regular expression that is a whole other language. You don't need to know what that means. You just need to know how to fix it. So, first and foremost, we need to know what your IP address is. Step one. We'll just do it one step at a time. You guys can follow on. Step one. What is your IP address? Go to whatismyipaddress.com. Here's my IP address. Right here. Whatever yours is, copy and paste it. Now, if you're on the library computer, don't do this. Only do this if you're at your home computer, then you would most likely be doing checking on your website's run. All right, there's your IP address. Okay, let me cancel out of that. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do, I apologize. There we go. How do I exclude traffic from a range of IP addresses? It's very important that you go to this link. And of course, in the class, we're going to have this link in there for you guys. The reason is I am not going to teach you how to write general expressions today. How to write HTML, and that's good. I'm not going to teach you how to write general expressions. It would give you a headache. It would be an 8-hour class. But all you have to do is paste in your IP address there. It didn't copy very well. There we go. All you have to do is type in your IP address. If you have a range of IP addresses, you can do this, but for most of you, that's going to not be a point. And then it will actually generate the code for you. So now you don't have to write any code. So you know how when we do WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, and we type what looks like a Word document, and then we can click over to the tab that puts it into HTML. The same thing we're doing. This is regular writing. Generate regex is going to put it into this language that is general expression language that they understand. Okay? You don't need to know what these things mean. You just have to know that that's what they do. You're going to copy and paste that, and you're going to go back to Google Analytics and paste it in there. Okay? So first and foremost, you need your IP address. What is your IP address.com? You're going to copy and paste your IP address, and you're going to put it in how do you exclude traffic right there. Don't worry about the second one. You're going to click Generate Regex and copy and paste whatever it shows you down here, which will look similar to mine with the caret and the question mark, the money sign. And you're going to go back to your page and you're going to paste it into here. Now you've got to pick which website you're going to be in. So I'm going to be in that one, I'm going to be in that one, and that one we're going to delete here in just a second. And then you hit Save Changes. Now what this is going to do for you is this filter, begin creating a new filter, simply Add Filter, is going to exclude your IP address from all of this information. We want to have as pure information as possible going forward. This will help with that. All right. There's one last thing I want you to do on this page before we move forward into the actual Google Analytics. So we've added your website. We've managed our users if we need to at this point. We've filtered out our IP address. Now you want to edit the profile. So come up here and click Edit, the under Profile. Click Edit. And you'll see a bunch of different information here. Goals we'll get to in a second, but our biggest concern is with this information up here. We're going to click Edit. It's going to take us to a page that's going to have some defaults actually set into there. Your profile name, your website URL, default page, all of this should be pretty straightforward for you. The things I want you to pay attention to is the website where your code going in e-commerce website. This is pretty straightforward. This is going to be yes or no. For Lifeway Connect, they're currently not selling anything yet on Lifeway Connect, so I can say no. However, some of you are, so I want you to click yes, pick your currency. Move mine back to no, though. And then again here, I want you to click Do Track Site Search. This means that if you have a search box on your website, which all of you should have a search box on your website, that Google will now track that information for you as well. Now, how incredibly valuable is this? You're going to be able to see what people are typing in the search box. You'll even be able to not only see what they're typing in the search box, but follow up and see if they're bouncing off your site, if they're leaving your site based upon the information, or if they're sticking around. What if they're converting into sales based upon? Well, those are great keywords. What if they're typing in keywords of stuff you don't have on your site? Well, you might want to start adding those keywords to your site. So there's all this great information, but until you enable this, most people don't even know this exists, it won't happen. All right, so do track site search, query parameter. Okay, this is super easy, guys. This isn't a big deal in the slightest. Just go to your website, and again, you might have to come back and do this once you actually have your site up and running. So I'm going to go to Lifeway Connect. And see, here's our search box, and I'm just going to search for something. So we'll just say, we just finished the love series. So we'll say love, and I click search. So just search for, it doesn't even matter what word you're searching for. It doesn't matter in the slightest. All right, this is super easy, guys. Just search for something on your website. It doesn't matter what it is. Next, I want you to come up here, and you see after the .com / there's a question mark. Whatever is after the question mark and before the equal sign is your query. For some of you, this will be an S, like mine, for search. For some of you, it will be a Q. For some of you, it will actually even say query. For some of you, it may even say search. Whatever is between the question mark and the equal sign, make a note of it. For me, I think I can remember an S, but for some of you, you may want to write down whatever it is, depending upon how long it is. Then under query parameter, you're just going to put an S, or whatever yours is. Yours may be completely different. Okay? That one's super easy, you guys. That shouldn't have been a glosser one. That's super easy. It may be new, but it's super easy. All right? And for the most part, you're not going to have to worry about these things. If Danny's working with you on your website, she'll tell you if you need to change any of these things. And then click Save Changes. And that will actually save those changes to that particular profile. Now, when I keep talking about profiles, you can have up to 50 profiles on your page, which is pretty amazing. For this particular arena, you might have a profile for Lifeway Connect that's overall 100% of the whole site. You need information across the whole site. What if we added new sections to the site and I want to have somebody really watching those numbers super tight? We're going to be adding a special store to Lifeway Connect. Somebody's going to have to be on top of those numbers hardcore because we dynamically need to do some rapid shifting on quantities and things like that. Anyways, I can create another profile. You can see right here, add new profile to Lifeway Connect. I can create a second Lifeway Connect that is literally just a store section. I can give somebody, whoever it is that I hire to do that, I can give somebody access to just that section of the website. Okay, so there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm not saying you're going to do all of these things, but there were some really specific things I want you to do on the site. Obviously, get your code installed. Part 2, check your code and make sure it's working. 3, add any users that you need to. 4, filter out your IP address. And 5, edit your profile for e-commerce or not, and then for site search or not. Now, if your website, your outside of eBay site doesn't have a web search on it, you probably want to contact Annie pretty quick and have her add one, hire her to add one in, because that's pretty important. All right. Your Google Analytics at this point are set up 102% better than easily 90% of the people out there. Okay, so you guys ready to go on? I have a few got it. Oh, I have a few questions. Okay, so understand, you guys, you can rewatch this information. We have a lot of information to cover, and I'm not going to be able to repeat everything multiple times. Again, permission to gloss over things, and you guys can go back and watch things. But just to go back really quick, site search for something. Doesn't matter what it is, click search on your site. The URL that comes up, whatever is between the question mark and the equal sign, put into that box for the search query. In this case, it's an S. For you, it may be a search, query, queue. There's all sorts of things that show up depending upon how search is done. Look after the .com / question mark, whatever is between the question mark and the equal sign. Again, for you guys, if it just has an S, put an S. If it has a Q, put a Q. All right. All right, next. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these reports. Simply click View Reports. All right, there's a couple things. Here is a dashboard of what's happening. This is about as far as most people get in their Google Analytics, and that's not a bad thing. It's okay, but this is a dashboard, and you can change this. I don't know if you know that, but you can actually, you can move these around, depending on what you want. There's different reports in there, and at the top they say add to your dashboard, and that's what they mean. So there's different things that you can do on the site. Once you get the dashboard set based upon what is important to you, and this may change over time depending upon the goals that you have set for your analytics, you can click Email, and I love this. Your dashboard can be emailed directly to you. You can also send it to others, and this is important if you're doing analytics for other people or other people are involved. So if Cindy's working on something and she doesn't want, for whatever reason, to have Danny in there looking at Google Analytics, Danny totally understands Google Analytics, so it's not that she doesn't. But let's say she didn't, and she just wants to set up the dashboard so it makes sense to Danny. She can put Danny's email address in there. Now, I'm going to be using this dashboard to send out weekly reports to the church so that they have a snapshot of what's going on. Always understand, though, that if you're going to be sending out emails to other people or clients, never ever just send them this email. Always put a description in here as to what they're looking at, because numbers, as you're going to find out, don't mean a whole lot, and people can make up all sorts of things having to do with numbers. So do be a little bit careful and say, you know, I know there's a lot of numbers here to look at. Basically, this means, 1, we need to do this, 2, we need to stop doing this, 3, we need to add this. Okay? You can send an hour schedule. So that's a great thing that you can do, is set up your dashboard based upon what you need it and or what you need your clients to see. And it's just a great snapshot of what's going on and great information for that. Okay? Now, a couple other things on this page to be aware of. Changing the dates is really important. You should be going into your analytics report quite often. It depends upon the cycle of your business. Right now I'm in Google Analytics almost every day because it's a relatively new site. We're making changes, things are happening, and I need to see how those changes are affecting the traffic patterns. Also, you want to be really careful because based upon what your site is doing, it may include information that has nothing to do with your business. So right here, if I had a timeline that was here, this is the only snapshot I'm going to get. This, our site wasn't even up yet. So I love this. We'll go back to the start, pull the little handles, make it bigger. We can actually look at the whole time that the site's been up. We can hit apply, and we can see what's really happening on that site. If you want to, you can just go to a calendar, and you can pick a calendar time, maybe those dates, hit apply, and it's going to bring it back there. So there's some pretty valuable information. Be really careful about what dates are showing. I know anytime I'm starting to see strange information, that's one of the first things that I check. Have I picked any buttons that shouldn't be picked? And are my dates incorrect for the information I need? This is also really helpful because what was important to us is getting traffic to happen on the website around Easter. So segmenting these reports out for that time right before Easter and right after Easter is going to be really important. Okay, so that's one of the things you can do. You can also change the graphs by day, week, and month. There's some that you'll actually see even by the hour. That's something that they recently added in. I can see that, interestingly enough, you can look at the spikes. Tuesday is a spike. Sunday is a spike. Oops, that's Thursday. Sunday is a spike. Tuesday is a spike. If I come over here, probably a Sunday. Sunday is a spike. We're starting to see spikes happen on Sundays. Now, I've got to be a little bit careful with that traffic because we put up podcasts of the sermons on Sundays. And our current process is to have them up by Monday night. Well, how do we fix that? The team can only work so fast. People are getting the site Sunday. They're not getting the information. Can we change the process for the team so that the podcasts are up on Sunday so that when people hit the site, they're up there? Or can we change where the hits happen? Can we make it so that on Thursdays when the newsletters go out that there's always a link in there for the latest updated podcast? Sure, we could. That's actually something that's written on my sheet for this week is to start working towards that. So either what does this information mean to you, or how can you change this information so it's more effective for you? Having people visit on Sunday isn't super effective for us because none of the new information is up. So I need to continue to allow those visits to happen, but convey the information that the newest information from that Sunday will be up there within the next 48 hours or so. So that's something I need to work on. I wasn't expecting everybody to continually hit the site on Sundays. I truly thought that they would go back home, go to work, maybe Tuesday hit the site. Yeah, that's not happening. Down here, I want to talk a little bit about what this information means because this confuses people sometimes, and I just want to be really clear about these vocabulary words. Visitors have to do with people who visit your site, and this can be new or it can be returning. Remember that little first-party cookie we talked about? Google grabs the information and applies it to that person. If that person comes back in and the cookie sees that that person's coming back in, and I shouldn't say a person, I should say a computer. See that computer coming back in, because you could have a whole family using one computer, so it's a little bit misleading. But if that person comes back in, then that is counted as a unique visitor for one site. One person, one visit. They come back a second time, then it becomes 2 visits, which is why this number should always be lower than this number. If it is a new person, meaning that they don't see a cookie on there, then they're considered a new visit, and we'll see that percentage show up here. Again, this number should should always be lower than this number. You would hope that your visitors would come back at least more than one time. Now, since this is a new site, we expect a lot of new visits, obviously. This number is going to settle out over time. This doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But you are going to need to turn into a detective here and be a little bit smart about this information that's happening. I can't look at this information and go, oh my goodness, that's so exciting. We have all these new people coming to our site based upon that one number. Now, I can base it on a few other numbers that we do have a lot of new people outside the church coming to our site, and that rocks. But this isn't necessarily the people that we're trying to attract to the site outside the congregation. This may just be people in the congregation for the first time coming to the site and getting that little cookie. This is a number I'm going to watch pretty closely over the next couple months as we educate the congregation about the new site. So for me, this isn't a super big number yet. So again, visitors, you can break it up into repeat visitors and new visitors. They visit the site. Visits, if you're on the site and you close your browser, that closes out the visit. If you are on the site, but you go and answer the phone and you're gone for I don't know, however long your phone conversation is, 30 minutes, and you come back to the site and you start working on things again, that's considered another visit. So they're kind of trying to be really particular about what they consider visits. Do not use these as hard and fast rules. I want you to think of these in generalities. And again, is 601 visitors good or bad? It doesn't matter. What matters is what's going to happen in the future to that number. Is 784 visits good or bad? It doesn't matter. It only matters what my goals are for moving into a certain arena for what we want that website to do. All right, during those visits, there's 2,775 page views. Now, if somebody's on a page and they hit refresh, that will count as another page view. Ideally, this is every page that they go to in your site. So based upon this information, approximately 3.54 pages of visits, to me right now, this is not necessarily a bad thing because based upon what we actually have on the site that are working functional pages, this is a pretty good average. Of course, I'm going to try and bump it up, but we have only certain information that is current on the site. We have a lot of events that are on the site for a couple days and then go off the site, so those will never be seen from again, and it's not like they're going to go and find the old pages, the old dates and things like that. So for me, this is a good thing. For some blogs, this is a bad thing. But if they have a blog and for some reason that there's a store attached to it and there's a blog and there's special forums and there's all these things going on, you can even think of rock stars. For rock stars, this would be a low number. I would expect to see a homepage hit during a visit. I would expect a couple pages in the forums to hit. I would expect 1 or 2 classes to hit. You want people actively involved with your site. So for us, I would say that that's pretty good. All right. Now, bounce rate is what freaks a lot of people out, and don't let it freak you out. It's just a number. It's a number that you can change depending upon what you want it to do. What this means is people came to your site, you didn't have what they want, and they left. The higher the number, the more you didn't have what they wanted, and they left in droves. For bounce rate, you want the lowest number possible. Now again, 40% isn't good or bad compared to anything, per se. It's only important to me. I can actually go into these reports now and look and see where the bounce rates are happening. Is it important that they're bouncing off of that information? What can I deduce from that? You can't take any one of these numbers as fact at this point. You need a lot more information. That's why Google Analytics puts all these great reports in here. Average time on site, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Just for you guys to know, for you bloggers, this number will probably be around this or a lot less. A lot of times your readers hit your site, read what they need to, and they bounce out of there, especially if you have pretty much a traditional blog where you're just posting something once or twice a week or even once a day. It doesn't take them a long time to read your blog posts, and then they're out of there. If you don't have anything else to engage them on the site, which is not good or bad, they're not going to stick around a long time. Now, this number on the surface bothers me because we have They're approximately 40 minutes. We have 40-minute sermons on the site. Based upon this number, I'm worried that nobody's listening to them. As we go through, you're going to start to see whether that information is confirmed or not. Again, you've got to be your own little private detective on your site and understand what's happening in your with your buyers, with your site, going back to your marketing calendar. There's a lot of information on here. So now, hopefully, you have a little bit better idea of what these different things are. Like I said, you can move around in the dashboard. If you need to, you can always export things, but I love the email feature so much more. Sage reports are up here, and we'll get into reports here in just a second. Visitors is where you can now drill down into this information. And there's a ton of information, just so that you know. I don't expect you to understand all of these pieces. I would say I still don't know all of the different reports that are in here, only because there's so many reports. You just need to find the ones that fit what you're trying to accomplish and use those. And that's actually going to be part of your success ideas later on when we get to that. You can see right here, it now has the new button, Add to Dashboard. So if this is a snapshot you need or you would like to show somebody, you can click to add that to the dashboard. As we scroll down to this overview, you're going to see some information over here. This allows you to drill down into other things. So if you were concerned about the languages of your visitors, this might be a report that becomes really important to you. And for some of you, I do know that that's going to become an issue for you. And when I say issue, it's not good or bad. It's just something you need to be aware of. Again, pretty good snapshot, similar to what we saw on the home page. As I scroll down, there's two more reports on this page, what browser they're using, and their connection speed. Now for me, this tells me some things. So again, I'm just gathering information as a private detective. This surprised me. I thought for sure that the Internet Explorer would be a lot higher than it is. Firefox is quickly closing in on Internet Explorer. So I would want to, as I add new things to the site, I would probably want to double check and make sure that it worked in IE, that it worked in Firefox, and we do have, almost 4% coming in from Safari. Now, we do have a couple other browsers, but again, for the most part, you're going to make 80% of your people happy. That's where the most amount of work you're doing. But these three numbers are important. If you're running a Mac blog, I would suspect that your Safari one would be a lot higher. If you want to be really careful for coding, because on Safari a lot of things can break that are coded for IE. They can look really strange, so do be careful with that. Connection speed for me is important in this sense. I would suspect on a lot of your sites you're not going to see as many dial-up people. We are a church. We have people from all backgrounds, but one of the things you have to understand is we do have the fabulous, adorable little ladies who may still be on dial-up. This may mean a couple things to me, and as I go through these, I write down notes that I bring to the staff meeting every week on Thursdays. Dial-up, does that mean we need to change how our site looks? Probably not, because it's 2% of the people. 2% of the people aren't going to be able to download anything on dial-up. They're going to have a really hard time. But do we need to possibly talk to some people and see if we can't get them to a faster connection, or why are they on dial-up? I'm thinking internally for the church, that's a lot of people to still have on dial-up. So that was an interesting figure to me. This surprised me to have this many people on T1 lines, but we do have a lot of professional people hitting the site as far as people who belong to the church. And unknown will always be in there, and then cable and DSL. This is only important if you suddenly see a huge surge in dial-up. If for some reason, let's say that you were doing a site for people in an area that were predominantly on dial-up for whatever reason, then your site would need to be optimized for loading in a certain way for dial-up connections. Again, for most of you, you're not going to have to worry about this, but this is something to glance at just to make sure that you're okay with all of this information. Benchmarking, for those of you who I know love to compare yourself, even though I'm telling you you don't have to. this is where you get to compare yourself. So the first and foremost benchmark that they do comparison is comparing to similar sizes, which is silly. They have 3 sizes, small, medium, large. To me, it's kind of lame. Our numbers are rocking. We're beating everybody. Everybody else, in the amount of traffic that we're getting currently, we're killing them. It's probably a little bit more effective to go to an open category list and actually drill down into whatever category you have. Let's see if I can remember where ours is. I think ours is under lifestyle. It took me a while to find the church one. But I can actually drill down into other sites that are Christian sites of approximately same size, and now it will compare me in that demographic. So for those of you who love to compare, even though I'm trying to get you to do your own goals, this gives us an indication. Again, was kind of confirming that I'm a little bit concerned on the bounce rate. Our visits are good, page reviews, time on site, new visits. So we're still really good with all numbers. Even though we're killing everybody on average time on site as far as churches go, I still don't like that number. We were specifically asked to put the sermons on the site, and they're not watching them, and now I want to know why. So just so you know, that's down on my notes. So that's what benchmarking is. For those of you who must be compared, there you go. Map overlay is one of the reports that I think the people who are at my church are going to love the most. And the reason being, when it decides to open, the reason being is this tells about the spread. Where are you being picked up from? And to me, this is really fascinating. For those of you who are training assistants, education specialists, doing local marketing for your business, this is going to be super important to you. If we scroll down, you'll see that we're getting picked up really well, obviously, in the United States, which we should. Canada has already picked us up, which delights me to no end in the first 6 weeks of being open. United Kingdom is showing some interesting numbers. This was really fascinating to me that we were picked up from the United Kingdom, and luckily the people in the United Kingdom are listening to my sermons. So listening to the podcast I put up. This arena is not only important for figuring out where your customers are coming from, but it's also really important for understanding if you're in the right language. If all of a sudden we are getting a lot of traffic from Russia, do we need to change any information on our site? If they're consistently hitting 3 pages, we probably want to have those translated into Russian, potentially. Now, they still speak pretty good English over there. We have a church over in Russia, which is why we're getting hit from Russia. But do you need to address that? Do you need to make it easier for those customers in those countries to be able to have access to your site? Now, again, we can drill down on this. If I go to the United States, and again, this is super important for you training assistants and education specialists to see if your local marketing is working for you. No big surprise. Let's hope that Washington is getting picked up first here. I hope, because we've been telling everybody in the congregation about it. But you'll see as we come down here, I'm a little bit surprised, Texas and Georgia are showing up. Illinois showed up. When I clicked Illinois, though, it didn't surprise me. And again, this goes back to being a detective. Granted, we could easily be getting somebody from Chicago, and that would be awesome. But we have a person who just moved from Chicago to our church, and we had a person from our church just moved to Chicago. I have no doubt that these are either her friends who are paying attention to what's happening in her life, or the person who moved from our church back to Chicago, this may be them keeping track of their old church. You wouldn't know that if you weren't paying attention as a detective to different things. So having Chicago show up on this, I can account for some of that traffic. It will be interesting to see if we can increase that traffic. Georgia, Ms. Leo says that that's her. So let's take a look. It must be her in that big orange thing at the top. So these can't be all her, which is really exciting. These are other people. Andrew says the UK was him. And interestingly, I have no doubt one of them probably was Andrew, but we actually showed up in 7 different cities in the UK. which is absolutely awesome. So are you guys starting to see there's a lot of information that Google Analytics has? And you're going to be on the information overload. That's why your success steps are only allowed to spend 10 minutes in it each day. But I love this information because it helps me so much understand if my marketing is working, if we're going after a localized market. Now here is something that completely baffled me. And actually I've changed my marketing because of it, my marketing plan. Our church is in Federal Way. My best hypothesis before going into Google Analytics would be that Federal Way would be on the top. Seattle's on the top, which I find incredibly fascinating. Now, we do have some people who live in Seattle proper who come to our church, but this is also my first indication that we're actually getting traffic outside of just our church. We are truly getting new people hitting our church that don't go to our church, and that's really exciting. Now, what else does this mean? Well, if these people are hitting our site, if I have an advertising budget to advertise in local newspapers, local radio stations, local events, who do you think I'm going to be targeting? I guess I'm probably these top 5 right here. That's where my money's going to go. So if somebody comes and asks if I can speak in Spokane, and the same weekend somebody asks if I can speak in Tacoma about the church and the website, which one do you think I'm going to pick? Bigger bang for your buck. Now, I wouldn't do that. I would try and get them on a different day. But you're seeing what I'm saying. Like, it's very important for you to understand how you can break this information down and use it not only for your website, but for your business in general. We can see what's happening, a great little snapshot of Federal Way. Again, if you needed to add to your dashboard so that you were always up to date with what's happening right in your city with your traffic. We can even do pie charts, which for me, pie charts are just like the best things in the world. I have no idea why. Woohoo, 100%, no big surprise. We can also see how many of them are new visitors. And this is a report that I ran because I need to know how many people in Federal Way are new to our site. I want you to think about that. If our church is in Federal Way, most of our traffic should be not new, especially in the coming months as we get our congregation used to going on site. So if we're still hitting, 50-60% traffic in a couple months for new visitors, that means that our outreach in the local community is phenomenal, and we're doing the right things. So here again is just some valuable information, and what's exciting is every single one of these reports, you can actually get all of this incredible information. That's why this Google Analytics can become a little bit overwhelming to people because there is so much information. New and returning. No big surprise, a great comparison between the two. And languages, and like I said, for me, for new and returning, that's going to be a while before that's going to help with anything. For languages, we already talked about. It's very important to understand what people's languages are that they're, and again, this is just part of something that gets picked up off of their computers, what language they're speaking. So we're currently in the English demographic, so English US and English probably UK, possibly a couple other countries. I am going to want to watch this, though, pretty carefully. If France suddenly becomes somebody who has a lot more visits, I may need to take a look at the pages that they're viewing and change those over into French. This is why it's so important to understand where your customers are coming from. And again, I don't have a lot of information yet. It's much more helpful over time, but you can see there's already a huge list that I need to go back to my church with this week and go, okay, here's some things we need to do. Step 1, this. Step 2, change this. Step 3, you've got to do this. And over time, you just become tighter and tighter at understanding what's going on. And again, these are all just additional reports. Let's go to traffic sources. Traffic